UNICEF is warning that environmental changes are having a concerning impact on the lives of young people, and they're asking global leaders to commit, among others, to child-sensitive climate action. UNICEF Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene Specialist Farai Tunhuma is there and joins us now. Good evening to you, Farai, and welcome. Thank you for your time. UNICEF conducting this global U-Report poll, which has revealed that climate change is forcing nearly half of young Africans to rethink, even having children one day. Let's just start with some of the reasons they give for this, and then we'll delve into some of the other matters your survey was able to reveal.
Excellent. It's great, Iman, that you can have me to join this very interesting dialogue. Yes, indeed, UNICEF launched a U-Report process from July this year up until August. We reached 200,000 children and young people from right across the globe. And yes, indeed, one of the most glaring feedback from them is that over 50% of them are really rethinking starting families. And this is really an indication from the youth of the dire urgency of the climate crisis, as well as how it is impacting their daily living and, of course, some of the situation in their households to the extent that they can make such difficult decisions.
Well, talking about households and how personal these issues are becoming, water is another huge issue, particularly in the Middle East and North Africa and the East Asia and Pacific region. This is also forcing some of the people, like those who responded, to consider moving cities and even countries. What have they shared about their experiences on this?
What we are seeing the young people saying is that there is sometimes 10 to 20-fold price increase in terms of the water that is available for them to drink. There is huge access differences between the north and the south, with huge portions of children in Africa not able to open a tap and to have water coming out. And of course, when there is drought and floods and cyclones, it becomes even more difficult for them to have access to clean drinking water. And drinking water is important, but it is indeed also a key facet of daily living, and households and children in particular spend huge amounts of time walking long distances or standing in long queues for them to access water, just for them to drink. So indeed, water scarcity is a big issue, and really having water, sanitation and hygiene issues front and central of the adaptation discussions here at COP is one of the key areas of interest for young people.
Farai, UNICEF, you want action from this COP27 to operationalize, amongst others, the Declaration on Children, Youth and Climate Action. What are some of the tenets of that declaration?
Yes. So as UNICEF, we really want to see climate-sensitive climate action, and this needs to be aligned with the already existing declarations on children, on youth, and climate action. We want to see the climate crisis recognized as a child rights crisis, and for us to really recognize that this threat is here and it is now and it is urgent. So as UNICEF, we are really working to ensure that young people have a voice in this conference. We are supporting them so that they participate. We are advocating for their rights. We are also working with them around ensuring that resources are really seen to trickle down to the services such as wash, health, education that are really key for children to survive. So we are essentially calling on governments to protect children from devastation by adapting social services, infrastructure. We are asking governments to prepare children to live in a climate changed world. This could be with the skills that are needed for adaptation to happen, so the green skills and other skills that they need to cope. We are also asking governments to prioritize children and young people, as well as the services that they require, particularly on a young continent like Africa, so that climate finance and resources trickles down. And lastly, we are asking governments to work to prevent the climate catastrophe by continuing to work tirelessly on the global commitment to keep emissions under the 1.5 degrees Celsius regime, as has been made in other declarations so far.
Farai, as you're speaking, and as I kind of reflect on some of the discussions coming out of COP27 so far, a lot of the concerns that you're sharing with us now have been echoed quite prolifically in the interview, for example, that we just had before we started talking. One of the things I'm really interested in finding out about is the concern for, the psychology of the world, particularly those who are in vulnerable areas, who are having to do some of the things you're talking about, move, maybe not have children, worry about what their future is going to look like. Do you feel that there is enough work being done on the psychological impact of climate change? And is there anything in the work that UNICEF is doing that can share some light on these deep pathologies that are being created in children who are in environments where they have to migrate or be on the move because it's simply not sustainable to live where they are, for example?
Indeed, there is a lot of work happening around mental wellness and well-being. As UNICEF, we have put in place social protection mechanisms, for instance, that help households to augment, for instance, their income so that services are made available at the household level. Where families have to move, we also have safe spaces that are made available where young people can air their views, receive psychological support, as well as, in some cases, even food parcels, as well as hygiene kits, so that they are able to look after themselves. So indeed, we are working in this space. We are also doubling our efforts, particularly on migration routes that we are seeing becoming much more pronounced right across Africa, so that basics such as wash, health, and sometimes even education, depending on how long they are within these areas, still continues, so that children have a semblance of normal life.
Yeah, these are so, so concerning. A lot of what we're talking about is global, it's architectural, but also deeply, deeply personal for everyone who is directly bearing the brunt of climate change. UNICEF Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene Specialist, Farai Tunhuma, thank you very much for talking to us this evening.